This week's video is a little bit different because instead of talking about a general subject or doing a role play, I'm going to do a story time, but it has to do with work, so it still fits within the manager method theme. But this video is about the podcast that I'm launching this week with 2 other HR accounts and how it came to be and what you can expect. So our podcast is HR Besties, and I won't hide the lead. It comes out Wednesday, October 18th, which we already had Bosses Day this week, so we're calling it Besties Day, so you can celebrate with your work besties. But backing up, growing up, no, I promise this story won't be that long, but growing up, I was always really into music. Like in my house, growing up, we didn't have that many things, but we always listened to music. We had records. I know, I'm dating myself. But we always had music on. And so when I became a lawyer, see, I told you this wouldn't be long. My first in-house counsel job, meaning working directly for a company as opposed to a law firm, was at a radio company, Cumulus Media in Atlanta, Georgia. And Cumulus Media has a bunch of radio stations, but they also had in Atlanta a very popular morning show. And one of the hosts on that show was Jeff Dollar. So Jeff Dollar will come into play in a little bit, but hold that thought. So I worked at Cumulus. One of the fun things was there was constantly music on. And so if you're one of those that like things that you had growing up, like make you feel like a warm blanket, going to work and having music at all times, like I loved it. I loved the people I worked with. We had a really great team and I really enjoyed it. So I've gone through my corporate career. I've worked, as you may know, I've worked at Yum Brands, KFC, worked at McKinsey, and a couple years ago had started Manager Method. So last May, again, I told you this would be quick. So last May, I was on LinkedIn and I'd started to post some videos on TikTok. And on LinkedIn, I noticed somebody had liked one of my videos. It was Leigh Elena Henderson. I looked and I was like, wait, I know that face. That's HR Manifesto. So if you haven't followed Leigh, I assume everyone watching this has seen Leigh at some point. Sometimes people are like, wait, she's the, not a comment, but a quick question that has also amazing eyelashes, amazing voice. So I reached out and I was like, oh my gosh, on LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm Ashley at Manager Method. I don't think she had any idea who I was. But she's like, great to be connected. And she saw my background. So we ended up Zooming and becoming friends, like text friends. Well, also in the HR world space, there was an account called Humorous Resources, which is what's called a meme account, which posts like funny videos from other people. So it's basically the greatest hits. And she posts some of her own. That is Jamie Jackson. And I quickly came to see that Jamie also had an account called Millennial Misery. And as a fellow millennial, literally by like 2 months, I love her account because also she has like the best of like things from the 90s that, again, it's like a warm blanket. But so Jamie and I became friendly, and Jamie had started posting some of my videos. Like literally didn't ask her to, she just started posting these, and it grew my account on Instagram like a ton. I don't know how many followers I owed her, but probably a lot. But she's just so funny. And so Leigh and I had started talking about a podcast, and I was texting with Jamie, and I was like, wait a second, that would be really funny. It's because Jamie's, like, if you see her account, she's just hilarious. So we started talking. And so if you have a podcast, you generally have to know how to do things like edit. And I edit a lot of my own things. So I've learned to edit like a video, but I certainly don't know anything about audio. So come back around that I started working at a co-working space. And one day I was like, wait, that's Jeff Dollar and his wife, Callie. I know them because I follow her on Instagram. So Jeff now has his own podcast with Callie called The Upside. It's a daily podcast about positivity. And I didn't realize they'd also started their own podcast network, 1022 Projects. So I literally started running into Jeff and Callie everywhere. And like literally everywhere. They made a podcast episode called Maybe She's a Stalker. And we laughed about how like we're clearly destined to work together in some front. And so I was talking to them. I was like, oh, we're starting a podcast or talking about it. And long story short, tomorrow, October 16th, launches HR Besties podcast. In the way that different things can happen of connections or, oh, I saw this person. Oh my gosh, they liked my content. Or this Jeff and Callie, we literally keep running into each other. It's wild, all the different paths that led us here. And we came together, we recorded this season. So we have a trailer already out. Tomorrow is our first full episode. But in our accounts, and I'll put them all in the video notes below, but Jamie, Leigh, and I all have a common thread where we believe that, first of all, I don't love the name human resources, flat out. I don't believe humans are a resource. I believe they are real people. They come to work. They get things done. They also have very real lives outside of work. And so even the name human resources, I think all 3 of us agree, like, yeah, don't love it. But everyone knows what HR is. But so all of us have this perspective that things can be better. And a lot of managers don't always have training on what to do. Some managers just shouldn't be managers, shouldn't manage a paper bag. But a lot of managers need training or a perspective to do things differently. Because unlike being a lawyer, like you don't have to have a certification to be a manager. Same for HR. There's no certification you have to have. And so in it, we talk about things that HR can know how to use their voice and the ways that HR can actually influence things positively at work. And so in the podcast, we'll be talking in every episode, it's a staff meeting. So you are joining our staff meeting as one of our besties. And we have an agenda that includes a cringy corporate speak. So if there's things that drive you bananas at work, we also have the meat of each episode. So talking about things like difficult conversations or why some layoffs are made so much worse in the way they're carried out. Or even our first episode of, is HR your friend? Maybe not, and maybe that's not their role, but HR has a really important role to help employees, not just be the voice of the employer. And so as well, we have a comment and a quick question at the end for those that are fans of HR Manifesto. But I wanted to give some of that perspective for those that are like, how do these things tend to come together? And truly, it's like a lot of things in life. Like when I started posting videos, I didn't have this plan of how everything was to go. I literally just started hitting post. And then things little by little, you get a connection with people, you meet people. And so in HR Besties, we wanted to feel like some of your work friends. So tomorrow in our first episode, we actually have a challenge. So those of you that are watching that are like, I know I have some work best friends and they mean so much to me. This has a challenge about how to reach out to some of those work besties. But Leigh and Jamie have truly become two of my truly closest friends. I am so happy to be on this podcast with them. Sometimes I pinch myself about a lot of things, and I'm still working and trying to, bring my voice and make videos about topics and learn from other people and, we'll make mistakes and learn from things I do. And so everything I try to do is just to try to help make work better. And Leigh and Jamie are completely aligned on that, but we have different perspectives. So that's the behind the scenes peek of our podcast. Again, next week, you can look forward to me doing more videos about manager tips, some of those role plays. So feel free to drop in the comments. But it means so much to have people follow along or hear people that say, oh, I feel the same way. I didn't know anyone else felt like that. So I appreciate you all being here on my small but mighty YouTube and joining on our podcast. We've already had a really great reception and messages. And so it's just important to us that we try to add humor as well as our tips or our voices about things that we see that could be better at work. So thank you for watching. For those of you that have watched this, look forward to more Manager Method normal content next week, if there's such a thing. And just appreciate the support, the feedback, and the questions because you are one of the besties now as well.